The third thing I do every morning is check the TV. Not because there are two more important jobs first, but because the TV completes the loop from bed to door. And checking the TV is a lovely little habit when it's telling me about the storm coming in tomorrow or teaching me a new recipe. Less lovely when it opens the day by introducing me to pigs. The ones that sniff out truffles if you leave them outside and give them time. And if that's not enough information to unsettle the stomach before I've had my espresso, finding out the real money comes from turning truffles into oil does that job nicely. Right, so I've barely woken up, I haven't even left the house, I'm not even caffeinated, and I'm learning that if I ever want pigs, I'll need an oil maker. And an oil maker needs hardwood. Of course it does. That's the thing about Stardew at the minute, nothing enters my life quietly anymore. Everything arrives attached to a small branch of infrastructure, and you need a construction budget to match your curiosity. Yesterday didn't go as planned. That trip to the Skull Cavern didn't happen, and the first thing Stardew does the next morning is remind me there's another material I don't have enough of. Again. So I do what I always do when my head starts to fill up. I go outside and start doing jobs. Because jobs feel sensible, and sensible feels calming. At least until it doesn't. I don't need to check my storage to tell you I've got 91 pieces of hardwood. 91 didn't used to sound too bad, until I noticed the stable costs 100, the house upgrade costs 100, and suddenly 91 doesn't feel like wood, it feels like being 9 pieces short of peace. Still, the farm's got a few more hardwood stumps and logs left on it, a few old bits I've been pretending to leave for later, so today becomes the sort of day that should settle me, which, in this game, is usually when the trouble starts. I might have spent too much time on this farm. When I see the cows and goats huddled up in the corner, I think that'll be great for milking. I've got a chicken who didn't register the first hello, so I have to do a second lap, like I'm apologising for a poor introduction. There are fish ponds I'm still trying to understand, kegs I understand all too well, and crab pots that have quietly turned into a recurring expense. It's like I've landed myself in a situation where I'm running very small errands for a collection of clients who have no idea how difficult they are. Today, it's the crab pots that niggle me, because every time the bait goes in, it's a reminder that the whole operation is propped up by little trips to Willie's shop. It's starting to feel like a subscription I'll one day defend as just part of the monthly budget. So when I get back to the farm, I address the hardwood situation. Not because chopping logs and trunks is fun, because it doesn't pretend to be 3 separate jobs. It doesn't need reloading today, checking tomorrow, and ingredients from Willy. It just sits there, in the way, until you hit it enough times that it stops being one of your problems. That's a relationship I understand. And by the time I'm done, the number in storage hits 117. Now that should feel good. That should feel like I've fixed something, a bit of breathing room. Only the problem with having enough for something is that your brain starts asking, which something? The stable or the house? A worm bin or a cheese press? Because the second I spend any of it, I'm not just making something, I'm choosing what I'm not getting. And that's the kind of arithmetic that can ruin a perfectly good afternoon. So I do nothing, which, to be clear, is not the same as being relaxed. I don't spend a single piece of it, not because I've suddenly become wise, because the pile already feels spoken for. That's what hardwood is now, not wood, intentions. And because Stardew has a lovely habit of giving you one hand while quietly checking your pockets with the other, the evening takes me down to the beach for a fish pond that wants super cucumbers. Fine. But that's not the only reason I'm down here, and I'd appreciate it being remembered. There's a crimson fish to deal with, another legendary fish. It doesn't take long to bite, like it's been waiting for me to turn up. And soon after comes the rush you get when the game suddenly stops being administrative and becomes a duel. It's not clean, it's not pretty. There's a moment or two where it's heading in the direction of the glacier fish, but I land it at the first attempt. Crimson fish. That should be plenty of story for one night. Instead, I have to shuffle to the other side of the pier because all I'm getting over here is junk. That's where my life is at now. 1 minute I'm locked in mortal combat with a legendary fish, the next I'm running a coastal procurement service for a pond. And when I finally get back to the farm, drop the cucumbers where they need to go, and start winding the day down, I realise I've forgotten Jazz's birthday. Of course I did. A few hours of feeling efficient, capable, even slightly impressive, then the day reveals you've missed something small enough to feel human and stupid at the same time. Friday brings a storm, and that should make the day feel different. The crimson fish finds a home alongside the legend, the blobfish want a few pieces of coral, and I get off the farm and down to the beach. Last summer, fishing got pushed aside whenever the farm started swelling into one of its little crises. Crops, materials, cash flow, some new system I'd accidentally invited into my life and now had to support. This summer feels different, and while I fish, I can stand in one place and let my brain lose itself in repetition. That was the plan. Cast, catch, repeat. And not think about the number, about how ridiculous it is that 117 still doesn't feel like enough. When you don't have enough of something, life is simple. You just need more. When you've got enough for one decent solution, but not enough to feel loose with it, every sensible spend starts to look slightly criminal. And that's the moment I notice it. All I've done is crank up the tension a few notches, which I really notice the moment my jaw lets go. Wow, I stepped off the farm for a break and right into a new rabbit hole. That's got to be a skill of sorts. I don't need another rabbit hole, I need relief. Something that takes a problem away instead of teaching me 3 new ones. And I didn't think I'd want to do this. I thought there were a lot of things I'd do before this. But if I'm serious about anything, I need to stop spending a chunk of each day elbow deep in livestock. I've always liked the idea of the auto grabber. It's not a farm tool, it's extortion with a handle. It's what I'm willing to pay to take something away, which is probably a little bit of an indication of what milking has done to me, but half an hour a day adds up. I can't stop myself from buying it and sticking it in the barn. The next morning, it's brilliant. One of the most annoying parts of my day solved by a machine. No ceremony, no guilt, just relief. I'm not going to dress this up as balance, growth, or some newfound wisdom about respecting my time. And maybe that's what should worry me, how quickly relief starts to feel worth paying for. Because my relationship with the inhabitants of the barn has just turned into a high and buy thing. I don't spend long thinking about what that time buys me. Bombs, staircases, food, the desert, a proper skull cavern run, which sounds good, clean even. I head straight for the cavern, not to prove I can survive it, we've done that. This is about progress. Last week's soup tastes as it should, not great, but it gives me the buffs I need, and in I go. Progress feels clean, that's what I like about it. The farm isn't clean. The farm is an argument, a daily negotiation with animals, machines, and whatever new request the fish ponds have decided counts as reasonable. The cavern is simpler. You prepare, you go down, you come back with something to show for it. And I've got the kind of setup that makes me feel less like an adventurer and more like I'm heading into a very dangerous office job. The difference is obvious. I'm not drifting. I'm not treating each floor like a separate little event. I'm not tapping rocks in the hope the cave eventually takes pity on me. I'm going down. That's it. Every floor still has the same two things waiting for me. Something that wants me dead and something that wants me distracted. The trick is not giving either of them too much time. So when a floor looks ugly, I skip it. When there's a clear way down, I take it. When bombing a patch of rocks feels quicker than trying to be clever, I stop trying to be clever. That's the difference. Not bravery, not brilliance, tempo. And for once, the cavern starts giving something back. More iridium, more coal, more of that feeling that this is becoming a lane now, not a one-off. Even the serpents feel less like panic and more like admin. Then the dinosaur drops a dinosaur egg, which is not a sentence I was expecting today. And that's the danger of Stardew. It never just gives you a thing, it gives you a thing with questions attached. Still, I pick it up, think, well that's odd, and keep moving. That's growth, or at the very least, momentum. By the time I leave, I've made it down to floor 51, and that matters. Not because 51 is sacred, because it means the last trip wasn't a fluke. 20 iridium, 47 coal, a decent haul, a proper haul, and, thanks to Harvey, about 1,000 gold shaved off the top for the privilege of being rescued like an idiot. Still, when I get home and empty the backpack, it feels good. Not lucky, not dramatic. Good, useful, like the cavern is finally turning into something I can rely on, and sat in the middle of all that progress is the dino egg. That's the only bit I can't settle. Museum, incubator, chest. It's amazing how quickly one interesting item can turn a good day slightly awkward. So I do what any measured, rational person would do. I carry it around for a while, then go to bed without deciding. Sunday arrives the way Sundays always do, without asking. The TV is on, the animals want seeing to, the machines need emptying, the ponds have opinions. The coffee keeps moving through the kegs like it owns the place. A good day in Stardew doesn't stay done for long, it just gets folded into the next one. The dino egg's the first sign my head's not right, because I remember it. That's important. I don't forget about it. I take it out, walk it over, then in a chest it goes. That's where I'm at now. A dinosaur egg in my hand, and I still can't commit to the decision. Then the worm bin happens. And the worm bin matters more than it should. Not because it's exciting, because it's practical. That's all. The crab pots have been irritating me all week. Not in some grand, lifestyle-defining way, just enough to start feeling stupid. The worm bin looks like a way of removing one of those interruptions. That's all it is. A small fix. One machine. 15 hardwood. Maybe enough bait to stop me treating Willie's shop like an extension of the farm. So I build it, and the second I do, the hardwood number changes shape in my head. 117 had felt close to something. Not safe, but close. Now it's 102. Still enough for the stable, technically, but the feeling's gone. That's the sting. Monday is when hardwood stops feeling like something on the farm and starts feeling like something I failed to find everywhere else. Because the worm bin works. That's the irritating part. Useful, practical, exactly the kind of spend I should be pleased with. Instead, all it really proves is that there are good reasons to spend hardwood. So I head out looking for more, not with a grander plan, just that low, stubborn feeling that there must be something obvious I've missed. I check the mountain path, the railroad, the tunnel, anywhere that looks like it might be hiding something useful behind a tree, a weed, or my own stupidity. The kind of search that makes perfect sense from inside your own head, a lot less sense from the outside. At one point I find a strange little lockbox. A battery opens it. Inside there's a note, Mr. Key. And for a few minutes I get that dangerous feeling that maybe the day has turned. Maybe I'm onto something. Maybe this isn't a wasted effort, just one of Stardew's annoying little scenic routes to progress. So I follow it. A rainbow shell, the railroad. Another clue, beets in the mayor's fridge. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, the hardwood search drifts sideways into something else entirely. That's the problem with this game. It rarely says no. It just offers you a different mystery and waits to see if you're stupid enough to call it momentum. By the time I realise I need Sandy's shop for the beet seeds, it's too late for the bus. So I end up on the beach, still thinking about Hardwood, still thinking about the desert, still trying to convince myself the day added up to something, which is difficult when you're looking for Hardwood on a beach. That should really have been my clue. And when I get back to the farm that night, the question isn't, did I waste the day? It's worse than that. It's whether I stopped knowing what I was looking for and didn't notice when it happened. Tuesday should be simple. It isn't. It gets stolen the way these days always get stolen now. A giant coffee harvest, ponds needing things, machines finishing, chests filling up, a trip to Robin's that fails because it's Tuesday and she's at the exercise class, which I know. I do know that, just never at the right moment. And once the day starts breaking apart like that, it never really comes back together. It turns into errands, little useful things, the sort of jobs you can't quite justify ignoring because each one only takes a minute. That's how a whole day disappears in Stardew, not in some spectacular collapse, just in 20-minute sections that all sound sensible on their own. Somewhere in the middle of it all, another Skull Cavern trip doesn't happen. That's twice now, twice. Not because the cavern's beyond me, not because I'm unprepared, because life on this farm keeps intercepting intention. That night, the greenhouse gets repaired, and I do notice it. It doesn't land like triumph. It lands like another room in a house I'm already struggling to keep on top of. By Wednesday morning, I'm tired. Not in the dramatic sense. Nothing's fallen apart, no one's died. I'm just carrying the sort of tired that comes from spending too many days feeling nearly right. The greenhouse is standing there, brand new, important. I go and look at it, then do nothing, which is odd enough that even I can tell something's off. I get on with the usual jobs. Halfway through, I remember the dino egg. That's important. I don't forget it. I take it out, walk it over to the coop, stand there with it for a second, and still can't commit. So back in the chest it goes. That's where my head's at now. A dinosaur egg in my hand, and I'm still more concerned with Hardwood. After that, I head to the desert. Not for the cavern, for beet seeds. Because Mr. Key's note has been sat in my head like an unfinished sentence. And at this point, I'd quite like one thing in my life to stop feeling half resolved. So I pay for the bus, get to Sandy's, and learn the beet seeds can't be planted until fall. Fall, which is still nearly 3 weeks away. That's not a setback, that's the game telling me I've misunderstood the shape of time. So I come back to the valley and keep looking, through town, anywhere that feels even vaguely like it might hold the answer. And that's the real state I'm in by now. Not searching with confidence, just moving through places, on the off chance one of them finally explains itself. By the time I reach the forest, it's late, I'm fed up, and the path home starts looking better than another 10 minutes of being wrong. So I stop. That's all. No dramatic collapse, no big decision. I just stop and head back to the cabin. Everything's still there, waiting for me when I get home. The greenhouse, the dino egg, the worm bin, the stable that's still possible if I don't spend. All the useful things, all the sensible things. All of it waiting for me to stop being wrong, and that's when it finally lands. I'm not this close to Google because I want an advantage. I'm this close because I want relief. That's the thing underneath all of it. Not progress, not optimization, relief. And sat there in the cabin after a week of solving things and improving things and still not feeling settled. I can feel the search forming in my head. Hardwood, Stardew, 2 words, 5 seconds. That's all it would take. 5 seconds and this horrible little itch goes away. 5 seconds, and I'd know whether I've been patient or just wrong. I don't type it, but I don't like how clearly I can see it, because this is the closest I've been, and I'm not close because I want more, I'm close because I want the feeling to stop.